Well, it's been 3 months since Scarlet Nexus debuted, and it's still my game of the year for 2021. That's mostly due to being the one game I've poured the most amount of time into this year. I've already covered the core mechanics in my first impressions video on the game's demo, and delved deeper into the game's structure with my review on Kasane's path. So what's left to talk about with Yuito? Quite a bit, honestly. I got a better grasp now on systems I only barely understood on my blind run, such as the team bond levels. Also, now that I've seen the story from both paths, I got a better idea of the bigger picture and how various plot points slot in between Yuito and Kasane. I can also appreciate the amount of effort on character writing that's been done to the cast. In my previous videos on Scarlet Nexus, I did my best to avoid spoiling the game's plot, as it was still a fresh release and I wanted people to get into the game and play it before I spoil too much. But it's been 3 months now since the game dropped, so I'm gonna spoil parts of the game here and there in this video. Just to recap, Scarlet Nexus is a 2021 action RPG with character action combat. Take Nier Automata's combat and place it in a modern era Persona title. That's Scarlet Nexus. First, I'll talk about team bond levels. According to the game, your team bond level increases if you do bond episodes with individual teammates, give them gifts, and have them in your active party during combat. I couldn't get my team bond past level 2 in my first run with Kasane. After talking about it with a couple of friends who were playing the game around the same time I was, I went and grinded enemy drops to craft the best gifts to repeatedly give my teammates to increase their bonds. You don't have to do this to get the most out of the game. I did this just to make sure I was able to get my team bond to level 6 before I beat the game. And I did. At levels 3 and 5, you get white outfits for your platoon and the other platoon, respectively. At levels 4 and 6, you get to do team bond episodes, which feature every teammate available at the hideout in that specific point in the story. If you get a teammate's bond level up to level 6 with Yuito, you give them a Baki doll with features that reference that specific teammate. With Kasane, you give them a wood carving. I love the white outfits. Reminds me of Mass Effect 2 when you unlock Cerberus uniforms after completing each character's loyalty mission. It feels good to get into the final cutscenes and have your entire squad dripped out.
There's that stupid face again.
That's how you start a conversation?
Sorry, I call it like I see it. I suppose I'm getting used to it, though. You make sure to stay alive so I can always see your stupid face.
What I love about Scarlet Nexus' character writing is how it uses the powers of certain characters to inform their personalities and insecurities. Tsugumi's clairvoyance allows her to see things that other people can't, but she's had bad experiences from knowing more about people than she should, which is a reason for her social awkwardness. Despite having invisibility as a power, Kagero is the most OP character for the entire game. Gemma's sclerokinesis hardens his skin and protects him from sustaining any physical trauma, but he's also hardened his heart after living a life full of loss as an OSF soldier. Kyoka can use duplication to make decoys of herself and triple her damage output, but she's been struggling with identity issues all her life. Even seeing character interactions in the hideout reveal a lot about each character's personalities. Although most of them have workout animations in the gym, you'll never see Arashi in there because she probably thinks working out is a waste of time, and all Shiden ever does is lean against the wall and watch everyone else work out. It's like he's silently judging how everyone lifts, but he's also too insecure to show everyone what he can do physically. Until you give him the dumbbells that look bigger than they actually weigh.
Master Yuito! Kodama is here!
Huh?
The most blatant plot hole that sticks out of my head is what the deal was with Kodama and her twin sister Yuta. Kodama only appears once in Yuito's path to deliver him a plot device that loses relevance by the next chapter. And she shows up 3 times as a boss in Kasane's path, with her sister being a surprise companion in the final fight. The thing is, I don't recall getting any closure after fighting them in Kasane's path. They disappear and don't return in the story after that last fight. I feel like there should have been one more fight between the both of them, and Yuito and Kasane's platoons together. There's also the Baki charms that Yuito and Kasane carry for most of the game. They discover these ampules that the governments are trying to conceal, and Yuito stitches 2 of them into tiny Baki charms for him and Kasane to keep. I thought they would have to break open the ampules in each charm at specific plot points, but the only payoff moments that result from those charms are when Kasane identifies Yuito in the future during their fight by spotting his charm, and when Kasane rescues younger Yuito in the past and he sees the Baki charm hanging off of her outfit, thus establishing his lifelong obsession with the mascot.
If you don't like it, you have to become strong enough to surpass your name. But if you can't listen to advice, it'll be impossible. The fact that a volunteer soldier like you made it into Captain Seto's platoon had to have been because of your family connections.
What?
Another thing I hate is those dolls you guys collect. That little pack-in or whatever. What's cute about such a weird little thing?
There are some things you just don't say. It's Baki, not Packin'.
Not the rings, Randall. Say what you will about Jesus, but leave the rings out of this.
I'm gonna kick your ass back to the Shire if you don't shut your fucking mouth.
I'm making these 2 points out to be bigger problems than they really are. They only stick out to me because I've combed through the plot looking for loose ends.
Who are you? Hello? Hold on. Who am I?
I really enjoyed Yuito's path. Where Kasane's character arc was learning how to open up and depend on other people besides her sister, Yuito was already that kind of character. His arc is all about learning how to toughen up in the face of adversity, without losing sight of yourself. I can see people writing off Yuito as a milquetoast, happy-go-lucky guy with a real Goku get-him attitude, but he demonstrates an unyielding will against opposition. He never lashes out at his brother when he finds out that his friend Nagi was being brainwashed under his brother's orders. Even when it looks like Yuito is about to kill Kagero for admitting that he killed Yuito's dad, Yuito only went all out on Kagero to get him to stop playing coy when he was asking about Kagero's motives.
That's right. I'm just trash here, but I do my best.
It's a strong arc, but the curve itself is very subtle if you're not paying attention. It's much different from Kasane, who hyper-fixates on protecting her sister to the point where it's used to get her to fight against Yuito and the New Himuka government. It's only after Kasane loses the one person she was trying to protect that she learns to stand on her own 2 feet and reach out to other people for support. That arc is clear and obvious when you see it play out.
How about a game instead? I just stumbled across a good one.
As for gameplay differences, I think Yuito is a better pick for new players. Everyone in his platoon has an answer for every kind of threat. His fighting style seems to be built around doing bread and butter combos with his sword, and mixing them up with charged strong attacks, which means he should stay grounded for the most part, but is still very effective and necessary to juggle enemies into the air to keep them from throwing out ranged attacks. Kasane is definitely built around air combos, and her platoon and progression are focused around maximizing Kasane's combo potential, mobility, and damage output. She gets 2 air dodges compared to Yuito only having 1, but she can't charge a strong attack up 2 levels like Yuito. While I'm talking about it, I appreciate the simple but effective twist of redefining Yuito's and Kasane's psychokinesis as actually being gravikinesis, and that's why their powers resonating causes a temporal black hole, because, general relativity. I never brought up in past videos how the game tries to be as diegetic as possible with all of its mechanics. Even the way that the motion comic cutscenes are framed are meant to suggest that you are seeing these moments pass while inside the Chronos Terminal, the hypothetical section of space-time that only people with powers like Yuito and Kasane can perceive. Even the act of saving in the game is explained in the setting. The save system is all done through conversing with Satoshi, an OSF agent who eventually resigns due to events in the plot, but still maintains his duty as a recorder for your platoon. He'll make the occasional comment on current plot events, and his arc is all about following the team and recording their stories for posterity's sake. The game could have just made the save point a terminal that you access, but it's little details like Satoshi that add up to give the game its charm. While I'm talking about various gameplay features, I gotta give it to Scarlet Nexus for having the best implementation of detective vision in an action game. Tsugumi Nazar is a small, blue-haired girl wielding a snub-nosed revolver whose power is clairvoyance. Tsugumi can perceive things that no other person would notice with normal eyesight. Basically, she has detective vision, which you can use via SAS when she's in your squad. In other games, detective vision is used as a way to idiot-proof a game by highlighting objects that can be interactable for the player, or to highlight an invisible and curving path for the player to follow due to plot reasons. In Scarlet Nexus, clairvoyance reveals others who are concealing their presence. They could be invisible, using decoys, or emitting a fog that occludes vision. It's pretty handy, but having this kind of ability runs the risk of the game putting in enemies who only serve as hard counters for said ability. What really makes Clairvoyance useful is that by initiating a perfect dodge on an enemy's attack, you can follow up that dodge with a read attack that stuns the enemy and breaks its armor when you have a higher bond with Tsugumi. This ability is available even if you didn't get the counterattack skill in Yuito or Kasane's progression. Read attacks are one of the most effective ways at dealing with enemies that have a high defense through their armor. It's impressive how the game takes each character's skill and incorporates it into the combat effortlessly and intuitively. Luca's teleportation allows you to blink across the field simply by pressing the dodge button. When you max out Luca's bond, you can do a charged strong attack from a distance and instantly blink to the nearest enemy. Kagero's invisibility changes a charged strong attack into a backstab move that deals critical damage. Using Yuito's or Kasane's SAS skill as the other character effectively doubles your psych meter, so you can bonk enemies a lot longer or do a finishing move. The other squadmates provide passive buffs, like negating damage for a limited time with Sclerokinesis. Duplication can double or triple your damage output. Hypervelocity keeps enemies in place while you stack damage. And the elemental powers are great because at higher levels, they provide an extra elemental attack at the end of your melee combo string. The one downside to SAS in the game is that you only have slots for 4 powers on each tab, with a maximum capacity of 8, but you have 9 members in your squad besides yourself. That means that there will always be one character benched while the rest are in rotation. Personally, I think Yuito and Kasane should have their own separate tab or method to summon each other, as their power is so unique compared to everyone else.
This timeline isn't worth saving. I will change the past, and I will make it work this time.
Getting back to the game's writing, I don't know if this is due to having the benefit of hindsight, but I think the game tends to tip its hand as to which characters will or won't die, based on whether they're playable. It's not so easy as assuming that any character who isn't in your squad will die, but there are a few here and there that make you wonder, okay, why can't I use you in my team? The last thing I want to point out in the game, and I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, because I got some words about it, is how the main antagonist, Karin, kneecaps a major theme in the game. When Yuito's and Kasane's gravikinesis resonate, they activate their true power, the red strings, and can travel through time via the Chronos terminal. As far as time travel shenanigans go, the game is pretty good at being internally consistent, and one chapter even focuses on Yuito and Kasane going around and tying up literal plot holes caused by previous time shenanigans. When they decide to travel back in time to converse with someone, one of the squad mates warns Yuito about coming into contact with his past self and how it could cause a time paradox, which is paid off at the end of the game. When Kasane goes back to the past and saves younger Yuito, thus kicking off the events of the game, Yuito in the present gains new memories from that encounter. So yeah, the game has really thought about the effects of time travel. One of the major rules that everyone has agreed on, and what effectively is one of the core themes of the game, is that it is ultimately not worth it to change a past, even if you had the power to do so. There's no telling what effects it could cause in the future, and it undoes all of the growth that someone like Yuito or Kasane would have developed as a result of the loss in their lives. The tragic thing about Karin is his inability to accept that fact. He lost someone close to him a long time ago, and is willing to go through any means necessary to undo that event, even if it means toppling governments, turning a blind eye to human experimentation, and even going back in time to assassinate the equivalent of George Washington in the setting. He's a nightmare to fight against for most of the game, as any proper antagonist should be. It's only at the very end, when the entire team gets together to beat the living shit out of him, that he can accept defeat and let go of his plan. So he works with the team to kill 2 very large birds with a very large stone, but, surprise, it was all a ruse for him to enact his plan one more time. And you know what? He pulls it off. Alice, the woman he's been trying to save all this time, is alive, but he somehow preserved everything else in the timeline. That idea that you can't change a past without consequences? He didn't clear that hurdle, he limboed underneath it. And when I first beat the game and reached this moment, this ending almost took me out of the game. But after going through the story for a second time, I'm looking at what happened with fresh eyes, and I get it. Yeah, Karin got away with it, but he also didn't. When the team asks Alice about what happened to Karin, she could only reply with this.
Karin. I don't know him. Do I?
Sure, you can't change a past without consequences, and this consequence was never existing in the first place. Remember when I compared this game to Nier Automata? Well, I didn't realize it until the very end that I was fighting Papa Nier the entire time. Is it an ass pull? Sure, you can read it like that. But after going through the game and seeing what everyone else went through, I'm okay with it ending on a happy note. I've gone on at length about these very particular issues I have with Scarlet Nexus, but that's only because I played it for so long, and I'm poring over every little thing that happened in the game. But in general, it's one of the best new titles to come out this year.
Okay, so this is what we could find out.
This should hopefully be the last big video I'll make about Scarlet Nexus. There's supposed to be DLC coming out that provides some additional content, and there's post-game quests you can take to unlock each character's ultimate weapon, but I think I've seen everything that this game has to offer at this point. I said it before, but it bears repeating. Please play Scarlet Nexus.